We'll start our meeting. It's 9 o'clock, March the 27th. Mr. Bledsoe will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Larry. Okay. Has the agenda been posted properly?
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone have a comment about the agenda? If council approves the agenda, say aye, please. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Roll call.
Mr. Alexander. Mr. Bledsoe.
Here.
Ms. Chambers.
Present.
Ms. Lassiter. Mr. Matchett.
Present.
Ms. Piper.
Here.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Here.
Mr. Hughes.
Here. Now I need a motion to approve the minutes for the February meeting.
So moved.
Second. By Jessica, second by Larry. Roll call.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Matchett.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes. Keep forgetting I'm the one that has to say something here. Waiting on somebody to move to the next step. Okay, we're ready for the financial agenda, please, Mrs. Patterson.
Are you doing the table first, or?
No, I'd like to do that after we get the others out of the way.
Okay. Circuit Court, this is a major transfer, Circuit Court to Public Defender. 138, account 120, minus $480. 139, account B 134, legal secretary, plus $480. Total request zero.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Larry, second by Jessica. Emily?
Yes, sir. Emily Anderson, Court Administrator. This is a transfer to cover longevity. A person moved from the courts to the Public Defender's Office. We're transferring money to cover longevity, built-in longevity.
Any questions? Roll call.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Matchett.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Thank you.
Assessor sales disclosure, 218, schooling, $600. Total request $600.
Move to approve.
Moved by Jessica,
Second.
second by Larry. Questions? You feel smarter now, or you be gone yet?
This is really for continuing throughout the year for the
Oh, okay.
staff. Yeah, just cover them.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Matchett.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Community Corrections, 311, contractual services, BI monitoring, $45,000. Total request $45,000.
Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Moved by Mary,
Second.
second by Jessica. We talked about this at Finance. You want to speak? It was approved by the Finance Committee.
Yeah, Sharon McCormick, Financial Manager, Community Corrections. We are no longer we are now renting all of our equipment. So we sold what we had that was old, outdated, old phone lines. So this is just to carry us through June the 30th to be able to pay the bills through June the 30th.
And this is for monitoring your
It's the
clients.
ankle bracelets and such.
It's not equipment in your office, it's
No.
what you use to do your programs.
Yes.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Matchett.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Convention of Tourism has been withdrawn.
Mr. Mansfield called me and said he would like to regroup on this. Does the council want to vote to have this withdrawn, or how are we going to do this? We need a motion to approve this request to be withdrawn. It's for $250,000.
I'll move to withdraw, make motion to withdraw.
Moved by Larry to withdraw the request.
I do have a question.
I need a second. Somebody?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Larry.
A question, do they have the power to purchase within themselves, or who's purchasing this building? Did you talk to him on that level?
I did. I talked to the Board of Accounts a little bit about it. I guess they do, but the way it was presented at finance, it was a bit unclear as to who was purchasing the building. And if you'll notice on the paperwork we received, that request, it said, assist with the purchase and upgrades to new building. Now, Mr. Mansfield mentioned, I think I heard this right, help me out, Mary, if I'm wrong, that the sports complex was going to be involved in this, and they were going to come up with $300,000 in addition to this $250,000.
So, has the building been purchased?
No, I think they've made an offer on it. Pending.
I've read that statute, I read it pretty quick.
Okay.
That seems to me like with the county council being in charge of levying a tax for them to be able to operate, that they're purchasing the building. I guess I could understand that a little bit, but are they going to the bank to get a loan to purchase the building? That obligates the county for X amount of years, when the county council should, I would think, have some sort of oversight on the purchase of a building, because we're obligating the county taxpayer at a tax rate that we could essentially do away with.
I asked Mr. Mansfield about the additional $300,000, and he wasn't very clear about where that would come from. Then I critiqued him a bit and said, if the sports complex is coming up with this kind of money, why are you paying on their bond out of your budget annually? And they have for years, you know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it just didn't feel good. And I agree with you, Larry. The first person I called when I saw this was James King. And I asked him what he knew about this, and he said not much.
Right, I talked to James.
Okay. Except I did have some more conversations, and tourism had gone to economic redevelopment, Brad Bookout and company, and talked about this project. And I guess it was just more than they wanted to get involved in at the time. And I talked to Bill Walters yesterday afternoon, and he said they might be willing to take a look at it again, that they would talk to the commissioners, and he would talk to Brad. Both James and Brad are out of town this week. And I promised him I'd get back with him as to what the council's view was on this. So I appreciate your comments.
I just think when it comes to purchasing property or entering into some building option to purchase or whatever it may be, when we set the rate for that, have the ability to withdraw that at some point, a purchase agreement should come up from some sort of legislative executive branch of government, I would think.
I agree. And
that's an appointed board.
the other thing that alarmed me, Larry, and it's my own negligence, I guess, for not checking on it, but I did not realize that there's a surplus in this budget every year, and rather than rolling it over into the next year's budget, it's been set aside And there's over 318, is it, Donna? I checked with Mrs. Patterson on it. Don't have the.
326,368. It's
They've
on your,
got that much.
on your sheets I passed out.
Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, okay, thank you. That's a balance, since convention and tourism doesn't come up very often, and that doesn't come up to us on this sheet, because you know this sheet only shows the ones that are active at a meeting. So that was kind of interesting to me that there was that much saved there. Of course, my first reaction was, well, let's reduce the tax and help the people out that are having to pay the tax. But that's just,
But on that idea, you couldn't do it if they entered into some sort of agreement.
well, and Larry, you brought up a good point, because Jim was not real forthcoming on where that other 300,000 was coming from. And
Right.
if they're borrowing it, you're exactly right. They can't borrow money without approval of somebody.
I'm not saying they are or not borrowing money, but I would think,
I don't know.
I don't know the property over in that location would probably be more than 300,000. I remember, you know, a few years ago when, you know, I was instrumental in doing away with the new visitor center as planned back in 2012, 2013, but again, a lot of that was a lot of lack of information. There was actually nothing brought in front of us as far as how they're going to run the place, for the place, any kind of budgeting or that nature, and it was concerning then, and that's why that project died at that time.
Well, it looks like they were gonna pay 450,000 and then renovate another 100,000. But who's gonna own the building, I don't know. Is the tourism board gonna remodel somebody else's building for $100,000? I don't know. Yeah, no.
When Larry's talking about the tax, if they would bond, there would be no additional tax put on.
Well,
It's not a-
Yeah, they could, but I'm saying
It's
we
not
have,
a
the-
property tax.
it's not, but we have the
Okay.
ability to adjust that innkeeper's tax.
Right, okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, I just want to make
Because
sure.
they obligate us,
Yeah.
if somebody, a appointed board makes a purchase, and it obligates anybody sitting up here
Right.
to continue with that tax, with the
Yeah.
idea that,
I just want to make sure
right, yeah.
everybody understood what
It's
property.
not a property
Yeah.
tax, right, it's innkeeper.
Well, I'm like Larry, I'm a former commissioner, and we actually created this tax when I was a commissioner. The council did it, and the commissioners endorsed it. I don't remember what, but I kind of remember signing something at the time.
Didn't
So
you
it's-
also approve the current bond issue?
We did the first bond issue.
Yeah.
Then the city annexed the property and they refinanced it. So the bonds now that are on the books are under city approval. The county bonds were probably, I'm assuming, they hadn't been paid off when they refinanced.
Well, how could the city approve it?
Because they annexed it into the city,
But they come before you for approval.
not for bonds, for projects in the city of Muncie. We don't do bonds. Sports complex, it's a sports complex.
Well, that's true.
The-
It's more complex.
We approved at budget time, there, I think it's 40,000 in their budget
Right.
to pay on somebody else's
Yeah,
bonds,
you do.
which I don't like.
You got 3
you know.
years.
I don't agree with that at all. They're also paying 40,000 on the convention center bonds until the convention center can re-up their bonds. And I was on the convention center authority when they refinanced that group. One of the reasons I finally agreed to go along with it was that they couldn't refinance those bonds. They had to be paid out. But they still got around it somehow. And they're got some deal with Garmong or somebody to hold it up until the convention center bonds are paid off, which I think is 2019 if I recall. And then they'll refinance the convention center to cover the parking garage. And that's when I resigned, because I didn't like it. And I wasn't being heard. I talked to the lawyers and everybody else, but people agreed with me, but
Well, I think I'm supportive of the innkeeper's tax and what they do. I do think, times have changed, and the fact that I don't know that everybody needs a 2,000 or 3,000 square foot building to promote our community when most of us all want to slick away. So I question that, are we changing with the times or what, best use for that money? Because $300,000 could do a lot on a study to try to get people here, or why aren't people coming here? I mean, I just don't know that we need in my opinion, whether we would need a building to do that
Yeah.
capability. But
Well, he had some other plans there, Larry, that were, I guess, quite progressive. He talked this is at finance, he talked about a mini museum there with Garfield
that was
and the ball jars
Yeah.
and that stuff. Well, that's a pretty big thing. It ought to be talked out. I'm with you. Let's decide. Plus, the location that building is that they're proposing is at that 5-way stop back in behind Stoops Buick where Chris works, and that they were wanting to bring a busload of kids in there to see Garfield. They may not ever get the bus out,
5-way stop's good for us locals. People out of town don't understand.
Well, but you know what I mean. There are just a lot of things that didn't fit, I guess, is what I'm saying. And the county owns some ground over there off of Morrison Road right now that they swapped out for that dance studio. It's just sitting there. So that's why I called Bill Walters, see if they still had that. There's just some other alternatives. Like you said, Larry, it needs to be studied a little bit before you jump in with both feet. Get in the bathtub and the water's too hot, And the obligation of that other $300,000 is an excellent point. I didn't think about it that way. I just was thinking that somehow the sports complex is pulling a deal. The sports complex is a not-for-profit corporation that is not affiliated with the government whatsoever, other than the tourism for years has kind of loaned one of their people to help manage it, and they funded it some over the years, and you know all about that. So, okay, we've got a motion to withdraw convention and tourism request for $250,000. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Matchett.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Adult user fees, 171 FICA, $700, 172 PERF, $1,200, total request, $1,900.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Jessica.
Second.
Second by Chris. Court Administrator.
Hi, Emily Anderson, Court Administrator. Last year, we put the state mandated raises in the budget on the adult probation user fee side, and somehow I forgot to put FICA and PERF increases. So I came back in and I'm putting those increases to cover those raises.
And you said you have enough money to cover
Right.
that for this year, right?
Yes, it's coming out of his user fee fund, and that's where it would have come out of anyway.
But it's a little, user fees a little closer than it used to be.
Yeah, it's not as plentiful as it used to be, but it's getting better.
Okay,
That's why we took the raises out of there.
okay,
I think we should try to do every other year just to make sure there's enough to cover.
okay. Roll call.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Matchett.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Thank you.
Elected officials training fund, $396 schooling for the treasurer, $2,000. You want to do
Read
both?
the other one too,
Okay.
please.
And $395 schooling auditor, $2,000. Total request would be $4,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
By Larry, second by Jessica. Roll call.
Mr. Matchett.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes. Ready for transfers?
Communication center, 112 minus $68.76. C 121 minus $1,321.96. E 109 minus $264.32. 124 training plus $1,655.04. Total request 0.
Move to approve.
By Jessica,
Second.
second by Larry, or Chris? Chris. Chris. This was approved by the Finance Committee. Paul, you want to say something?
Paul Singleton, Director of 911. This is just some extra monies that we're wanting to move out of salary line items over to training. This is where we have a gap in employment. We have to wait on somebody to get them hired, and then they also start at the lower rate. We've got more aggressive with our training, so we just need a little more that money moved over where we can use it.
That pays the training officer.
Okay, and there's also a correction on the training, it's 194.
124, 194. The 194, 120.
Right.
Which one?
Which one is it?
124, 194.
Okay.
Okay,
124, 194?
okay, got it. Okay, any questions? Roll call.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Matchett.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Family support, the first line should say, it shouldn't say 4,110, it should just say 110. 40 assessed up minus 21,285.89. 110A plus 21,285.89. Total request 0.
Move to approve.
Motion by Jessica,
Second.
second by Chris. Family support.
She's here.
Oh, over here, I was looking in the wrong place. Sorry.
Hi, Lori Craycraft, Administrator for the Family Support Division. This is just replacing an employee who's retired. Just asking to transfer the money to A-line.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Matchett.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Circuit Court A120 minus $490. A131 Court Reporter plus $490. Total request 0.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Jessica, second by Larry. Emily?
Emily Anderson, Court Administrator. This is another built-in longevity transfer for an employee that moved to a different position.
Okay. Roll call.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Matchett.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Thank you.
Statewide 911, 178 education incentive plus $1,038.33. B103 minus $1,038.33. Total request 0.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Jessica, second by Chris. Paul?
Paul Singleton, Delaware County Director 911. This is in our state budget. This is just to move some supervisors' money over to educational incentive to make sure we have enough in that fund to cover.
That's a new item, started last year, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Matchett.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Community Corrections, 132 Financial Secretary minus $4,170.04. 197 part-time plus $4,170.04. Total request 0.
Moved it first.
Second.
Moved by Larry, second by Jessica. Any questions, comments, criticisms? Was approved by the Finance Committee. Roll call.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Matchett.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes. Now, who's going to do the famous motion for me here?
I can. Motion to approve financial, oh,
No, I'm sorry.
okay. Motion to approve financial transfers and to amend salary ordinance with like reductions.
Who's the second?
Second.
Chris? Roll call.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Matchett.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes. Mr. Hughes was reminding me about the tabled motion. I kind of had it out of order there a little bit. We had a fund request for a new ambulance and some other things that's on the table. I need a motion to remove a request for $127,086, Fund 4915/283. I need a motion to remove that from the table.
So moved.
Second.
Larry, second by Jessica. Jason, do you want to just bring us up to date a little bit?
Sure, Jason
Where we're
Rogers, Director of Emergency Management. I met with Albany and we discussed tabling, why this was tabled. And I went back and did some looking, and over the last 5 years, we estimate that they've put about $48,000 into this fund. So we feel that we probably should move forward with this. They're continuing to put money into the fund, and it certainly is. They're the second. Theirs will be the second purchased ambulance for Albany, which we've already done for Eaton and Daleville. So we feel it's probably something that we should move on. And attached to this as well was the equipment for replacing the squad vehicle that we have ordered. So we're probably 4 or 5 weeks away from its delivery. So it's probably a good move. I do know that the city and county are in talks about the EMS situation. So with no new information on that, I feel that we probably ought to continue our operation as we provide the service to the community.
I think I forgot to ask for roll call on that. Taking that off the table, sorry.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Matchett.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes. Now I would appreciate a motion to approve the request for $127,086.
So moved.
By Jessica,
Second.
second by Larry. Roll call.
Mr. Matchett.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes. Now, Mr. Hughes, do I need to get a motion to approve the change in the financial agenda? Okay. I need a motion to approve the financial agenda in reference to our previous motion.
So moved.
By Jessica,
Second.
second by Chris. Roll call.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Matchett.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes. Okay. Moving along, we've got tax abatements. Think there's anything there? Appointments. I received a letter, I'm sure you all did, recently from Jack Donati, who has resigned from the Housing Authority, so we'll need to work on that for our next meeting. I haven't had time to really talk to anybody about it. Human Resources sent me a note requesting an appointment from the council, a council member, for the Commissioner's 7-member Insurance Advisory Board. I called Jane Lassiter to see if she'd like to do that, and she said she would. So that's the approval of the other council members. I just thought since Jane had been involved in county government for many years and kind of, even though she's been an elected official, she's kind of been an advocate for the employees also, and I thought that would be a first choice in my vote. I'll just say, if all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Jane is appointed to Commissioners Insurance Advisory Board. Any ordinances today? I don't think so.
Hey, Ron,
Yes, ma'am.
you skipped personnel.
Pardon?
You forgot me. The salary
Well, I
adjustment,
really haven't, but that's, go ahead.
the salary adjustment for personnel. Rick's not here, so he asked me to speak on behalf of him. We had an employee that moved, the employee that moved from circuit court over to public defender's office. And if you remember, I helped with making sure all those transfers and all that paperwork got through. And I was given the wrong base pay for the person that went into the public defender's office. It was brought to my attention just probably about a month ago, and we worked on getting that corrected. We need to approve the salary. Nothing needs to be approved financially, but we just need to approve that the salary be corrected so we can pay her the right amount. I can give you the line item if that helps, but it's not
Well,
any
we'll
kind
need
of.
that for a motion.
Okay, it's 139 B 134. And the base pay should be 33,636.
I'm a
there-
little lost here, Emily. I didn't totally understand this, so that's why I asked you to explain.
Yeah,
it.
so when I looked this up, I think there was a clerical error on the base pays that were given to me. I think there was some numbers inverted. So her base pay and her longevity were given to council, and that's what we paid her. Then when I think Donna was looking at all the base pays, we found that it was wrong. So we have to correct it. We told her we couldn't back pay her anything for last year. This is from last September, but that we could correct it for this year and get her caught up. The money's already there. We were just paying her incorrectly.
Rick had sent me what I call the backup salary ordinance that shows everybody's base pay 60%. Well, it's been wrong for years, so I worked on that thing forever and went through and took the budgets, went line item by line item. When I questioned something, I'd send it to Rick. We worked on this thing for hours, and going through, I found quite a few errors in it, and we got it corrected, but this is one that Emily or Rick, I guess, was going to bring before you. That the others were just in the backup salary ordinance. They were just totally wrong, but this one, she was being paid wrong. So
We need to make a motion then to adjust the amount in line item 137B 134 to read 33,636.
as the base pay in
As
that
base
salary
pay.
ordinance, yes.
It's already budgeted that way. It just needs to be in the
Or
salary
salary
ordinance.
It's budgeted correctly.
Budget is correct, this is an amendment to the ordinance.
Correct.
To the backup salary ordinance that Rick keeps.
Okay, well, we'll do it that way. We'll call it an amendment to the backup
They
salary.
approved the salary ordinance at budget time.
The spreadsheet,
Okay, my salary ordinance that I present during budget hearings, that's correct, because
Oh.
that just has total appropriations. Then Rick keeps this backup that shows the breakdown of every person. You've got their base pay, some of us have 60%, some of us have 2.2. That base pay in that backup ordinance was just, I think it was just typed correctly, God knows how long ago, and I caught it when we were checking.
So the motion then should read a $33,636 base pay for line item 137, B 134,
139.
and 139.
Yeah.
As amended in the backup ordinance.
There you go.
Correct.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Larry. Roll call.
Mr. Bledsoe.
Yes.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes.
Mr. Matchett.
Yes.
Ms. Piper.
Yes.
Mr. Quakenbush.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, don't sit down.
Oh,
Remember you sent me a note
yeah.
about jury trials and I asked you to make a comment on that?
The jury trial note or the office machine note?
Well, both, I guess.
Okay. So,
You're right, I forgot about golf.
you guys miss me? Because I have a lot today. So our jury trials are just, I mean, it's a good thing because we are getting a lot of jury trials out of the way, but we have had a lot of jury trials since January 1. So I wanted to make you all aware that we have gone through a lot of money since January 1. So I pulled last year's finance sheet just to see where we were at last year. Last year at this time, we still had $18,000 in our main fund. This year we have now about $2,300 left. We still have our backup fund, which is that jury fee fund that we get money put into by the city. That's going to be $15,000. But I'm just making you aware that once we get through that, and I can't predict how our jury trials are going to go. Nobody can. But if the trend is going this way, then I'm going to have to come back and ask for more jury money a lot sooner than I did last year and the year before. Usually I'm coming back around September, October, and I don't know what's going to happen this year. I just want to make sure you're aware of that. And again, I will make every effort to pull money out of my budget to cover that. But because we're so early in the year, I just wanted to let you know. The other thing is I sent Ron an email a couple weeks ago. No, it was last month. It was the end of last month.
Yeah, it was right after the meeting last month.
Yeah. So last year, I don't know if you remember, but we've signed some contracts. We're trying to get down our law book fund because it's so astronomical and it just keeps going up every year. And I talked the judges into getting rid of some of their books because some of it's online that they can get for free, but they're, so used to having those books and having them on hand. Getting them to electronics is sometimes hard. But I did talk them down to at least getting on these contracts, 3-year contracts, which gives us a lower rate as well as a lower increase. And I also talked them out of some of their bigger purchases, some of their law books that are pretty expensive. And in doing that, I said, hey, if we can get rid of some of this stuff, we could probably purchase you some bench chairs. Their bench chairs are circa $19.99 and $2,000. They're not very comfortable for them. I don't have it in my budget to just replace chairs for them. They're $500 to $600 a piece. And so I said, if we can get these down, maybe we can use that extra money since it's already budgeted for next year and see if we can get the council's blessing to use that money for chairs. Well, they all needed replaced. We looked at every single one and they're all horrible shape. So I got a quote from Thomas Business. They all picked out chairs. I tried to keep them in a certain pay range, about $500. And I can replace all the chairs with the extra money and have a few $100s left over to put back into jury trial fund or whatever. But I don't have to necessarily have your permission to do it because it's in the same line item series. But I don't want to do it behind your back because that money was set aside for law books. And so I just wanted your blessing to make the purchase because it's a $3,000 purchase. Even though the money's there and it's the money in my budget, I don't want to just do it without your blessing. So I guess I'm here asking for your blessing to make this purchase for the judges. And then next year, our budget's going to about be in half on that line item. So I guess that's what I'm wanting to ask.
Well, I guess I would call for a vote by saying aye if you wish to support her idea.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Thank you very much.
We're not quite hierarchy to be able to bless you, but
That's all I have.
thank you very much for keeping us informed. We like to keep the judges happy.
Yes, me too.
Do we have audience comments? Seeing none, I have several myself today. If you bear with me, I'll make it quick as I can. Number one, I read an article recently about economic development and the fact that we're kind of spinning our wheels to try to bring in more industry for more jobs when the Indiana unemployment rate is 3.3%. So there's not a whole lot of people out there to fill any jobs right now, and I guess it's best to do what the commissioners have kind of changed their direction on, and that's helping locals expand their business or create new jobs within the community rather than going out and trying to find people outside the community to fill the jobs. But then I heard on the news that the governor's going to some foreign land to try to bring jobs in, so who knows. I also heard on the news this morning that the FedEx is not going to build their new building in Greenfield, but they're going to add on to their building in Terre Haute. So things are changing when it comes to economic development. We're going to have to be on our toes. Also, I had talked to the commissioners recently about borrowing from the edit fund to keep us from borrowing from the bank. And that went over reasonably well, but then now they're in negotiation to buy a building. I'm not so sure that is going to be a good idea, but I remembered something, so I went back and did some research. Talked with Donna Patterson and Bill Vincent. We borrowed money. We borrowed $7 million from the rainy day fund in 2010 to pay some bills. And there's
$7 million.
What it says on this resolution. When we had that great big, remember we had that money left over from welfare that came into rainy day? Oh, it's old papers. Well, I did my research, Donna.
Yeah, we did.
It even shocked you, didn't I?
Yeah, I forgot about that. We did have a big
Okay,
balance that we put over.
I'm gonna make a suggestion that we either amend this resolution or ask Mr. Hughes to create a new one, and we borrow $500,000 from rainy day to pay bills with.
Oh, you can't.
Huh?
You can't.
What can? I'll talk
Okay.
the bill.
No, well,
It's right here. It's in the IC code.
I know, but there's not that much money to borrow.
Oh, there's not?
Okay.
Oh, I thought there was 600.
Well, there is. And I was gonna bring this up, so,
Okay.
what is that?
Gee,
I haven't got there yet.
Knocking me down.
Last month, we had a request for additional appropriation, by our office out of rainy day for title searches and stuff. And so when I did the financial, it shows we have 623,000, I think, something like that. Well, I talked to Carrie Dye, Monday, and we were on the subject of this community crossing grant that they're getting ready to get money in. And if you remember, in 2016, we got a special lit distribution. 75% of it went into a new fund called lit distribution, could only be spent on highways, to redo highways, and the 75% was restricted money that they had to do. The 25% had to be put in a fund, and it was unrestricted. They could use it for anything to improve the county, basically. Well, that 240,000 is in rainy day, has never been spent. So 240,000 of that $600,000+ is highway money, and now that they're aware of it, they will probably come before council here in the future and request that money for paving.
Well,
I had forgot all about, we have put that 240,000 in
it
there.
doesn't say we can't borrow it as long as we put it back by the end of the year.
Well, if they need it for paving this
They're
summer,
getting all the money they need for paving,
yeah, it's,
quite honestly.
yeah, but it's their money, and by state statute, we had to put it there until it was used, so,
So.
I mean, it takes your blessing for them to spend it, because they have to do additional appropriation, but the 240,000 is their 25% of that special distribution that we got in 16.
But even if just $500,000, the commissioners would probably have that as short-term loan, I would think. I mean, even a purchase of a building, they still have projects that's not been paid out yet over the 3-year plan. mean, I wouldn't think 500,000 would.
Well, I agree with you, Larry. After that came up though, I just kind of started looking someplace else, and I kind of had a recollection and didn't realize that 240,000. Donna didn't
I just
remember
I
either.
just found that out.
But I still, guys, the highway's gonna get more money than they can seasonally spend
They're
on
getting-
paving.
Yeah, that's what
So
brought this whole
I-
conversation up.
I
They're
mean, it's
getting
up to
ready
the
to get
council.
more.
If you want to pursue it, I think, as president, I recommend we borrow the 500,000 from rainy day and pay it back before the end of the year. And if the highway still has dibs on it, they can get it next year after we pay it back. Just less interest we have to pay, and it's just laying there, probably making 5/10 of 1% or something.
Yeah,
in a
It's not
CD.
making any interest.
Did you tell him that we haven't borrowed any money yet this year?
Well, we did. Yes,
Well, you said we
today.
were going to
Today.
borrow 500,000.
Yeah.
But last year at this time, we'd already borrowed 1.5
Mm-hmm.
million. So that operating balance getting up to where it was at the end of the year has pushed back the borrowing for a couple of months. And if we can continue to increase that, it's going to get to the point between the treasurer's investments, he's investing money different, that's going to bring in some extra. Between some extra things that we're doing, we hope to get down to no borrowing at all. It might take another couple of years to get that, but, you know, we've already cut $1 million off of what we borrowed last year. And then we borrowed from the bank 500,000 less. So
Well, that's
we're moving in the right direction about what we're trying to do. We can get that operating balance up at the end of the year to about 4 million. We might be able to make it to early draw without borrowing at all.
But if we borrow this 500 from rainy day, and then I go back to the commissioners and try to get another 500,000 out of edit, we may not have to borrow any more than what you're borrowing right today.
Oh,
This
from the
year,
bank.
which would be
Right.
$500,000 instead of millions.
I agree with that.
Yes.
So all I'm asking the council members is, you've heard I didn't know about the 240,000, I apologize for that. But I think it's still there, and I could ask Mr. Hughes to review this whole ordinance, see whether he wants to amend that or just create a new one.
Do we need an ordinance to borrow from edit as well?
Well, it's actually a resolution.
The resolution, I mean,
I imagine we'll need a change in the commissioner's edit plan.
you would, but I mean, as far as us asking to borrow money, would we need that in I mean, if you do, just you could word a resolution, and in the event that the council needs to borrow money, that they give us a few options. I don't know if that would be possible. That way we're not getting a separate resolution
that's
for
good.
commissioner.
Then we'll kill two birds with one
Yeah,
stone.
So we get it all done.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I need to say something about edit.
Go ahead.
I forget what the balance was in there that could be appropriated. We just got our state approval back today on the 2 million I asked for last month. Next month, I'm coming back and asking for another 4 million. I was made aware here a couple weeks ago that out of the edit plan, Brad Bookout needs $2.1 million when he closes on a property in Delville next month. I told him I don't have 2.1 million next month because I have to go back to council and ask for money. I was already planning on coming back and requesting 2 million, but that was before I knew Brad needed 2.1 million. So I'll be coming back in the April meeting asking for another 4 million.
It's going to be, well, if you look at the money that my last year's commissioner that we borrowed for these bridge projects, I mean, all those paying out now, I mean, all those bills are coming due. I mean, so it's going to be I would think a balance going to be coming down off that, because see, a lot of those projects that have not been completed, some of the bridge projects back in 2012, those are being let off of construction. And then
Were they
honestly-
paid for from edit?
Yeah.
Oh,
We had
well,
several
we
bridge
get
projects,
reimbursements quite a bit.
Right.
Angie puts her.
But
you
then we
know.
borrow money specifically
Yeah.
for those projects.
So I mean, there'll be 500,000 in there for you to borrow, but
It should be more than that.
I have to watch the cash because my request for appropriations are also based on, income for the year, which is like over $4 million, so I only get a 12th of that every month, so I'm gonna have to,
You'll have to figure in, if we're
and I
gonna
got
borrow
bond payments.
500,000, you'll wanna add that into that figure balance as well, requested. Would be an additional.
Well, no, it doesn't have to be approved as an additional, it's just an interfund transfer by resolution.
By resolution.
Yeah. I
Well-
just kinda wanted to make you aware, I'm gonna be asking for a hunk next month out for appropriations.
Do I have the support of the council then to ask Mr. Hughes to prepare a resolution to follow IAC code 36-1-84 and give us the opportunity to borrow 500,000 from Edit and 500,000 from, all say aye?
Aye.
Okay. Insurance today, okay,
Are you gonna do this for next month?
I don't know.
Well,
I'm gonna have to talk to the commissioners about Edit. I mean, I'll just call James King next week. and
I don't know
get
when's the council meeting next month? Because we may have to borrow, we're probably gonna have to borrow next, I mean, we're hoping, but if it gets down to,
back. Oh, I see what you mean. Well, definitely we can do the rainy day one next month.
okay, as long as you do one of them, then that way, let's see, we meet the 24th, so that would be, because I always have to call the bank, I have to get the bank like, I called them yesterday and get the money today. But I just wanted to make you aware, you know,
Well,
that but we'll have time because the meeting's on the 24th, so if you approve it that day, then that'll be okay. Because we wait till the very last minute to borrow to try not have to. So.
we've been working pretty close with the highway and helping get some new equipment. A nice raise last year. I'm hoping they'll feel good about us tapping into their rainy day money for a while.
Yeah.
Saving county money. I was kind of beginning to get myself ready for next year's budget, and due to the fact that we're going to have an elected sheriff, a new sheriff, we're not sure which candidates will come out of the election, but the current sheriff is fulfilling a term of a former sheriff who's deceased. So I got to thinking about how we would want to approach the budget when it comes to sheriff's salary versus the old method, which was in place before Steve All was sheriff. So I asked Denise to find me the contract with the current sheriff, and the contract with the current sheriff was approved 15th day of June 2015 and only extended to the end of the year, December 31st, 2015. And there's been no new contract, and then it's been difficult to find a signed contract with the former sheriff. So we don't have that in the record either. So I talked to Mr. Hughes, and he's talked to Mr. Brooks, and I'm just telling you this to bring you up to speed that the commissioners will be working on this, and we'll be working with them because on this extension when Mr. Matchett signed it as president of council, so we need to get that up to date, and that's all I'm going to do on it right now. I just brought to the attention of those who need to prepare it, and the commissioners will have to negotiate this, I reckon, and then we'll have to vote to sign off. And then when you tell me to, I'll sign it. Okay, any questions on that? Council have anything to say? Angles done? That's all I have.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion to adjourn from Chris. Second from Larry. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.